Welcome to Come Heal Yourself with Monica Goyle on OMTimes Radio. Monica is a spiritual counselor and healer with a life purpose to put people in touch with their innate healing abilities, empowering them to live a life full of joy, love, peace, and abundance. Through this show, you'll learn to heal every aspect of your life by connecting to your higher self. And now your host, Monica Goyle.
Welcome, friends. Namaste. Come heal yourself. Hope you're having a blissful day wherever you are. I have to say it's been such a pleasure connecting with you. And today we have a very, very special guest, Hollywood celebrity, Lisa, who has been working as a stunt girl with Madonna, Meryl Streep, Robert Redford, Katherine Hepburn, so many of them. And she has been a wonderful author for the book called Falling for the Stars. And it's her own tale, and it's already Amazon.com #1 bestseller. Let's welcome her. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Monica. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
We are honored. Thank you so much for joining us. Great. So, Lisa, tell us about your journey. What led you to be in stunt business?
Well, you know, Monica, I was a very clumsy child, and I fell down a lot.
You did?
I did. I was so klutzy that everyone just called me Klutz, and they didn't even call me by the name Lisa. And it upset me so badly that I became more clumsy and more klutzy. And I had to go crying to my daddy to ask him to make everybody stop, which he managed to do, which was very sweet. But the arc was, you know, I was a tomboy, and I decided I needed to learn how to fall without hurting myself.
Wow.
And my mother put me in dance lessons to be more graceful, and I loved performing. And but even, you know, like as a kindergarten kid, I remember climbing to the top of the jungle gym and wanting to knock the little boy that was up there off. I was very aggressive, but I had to make sure I had a good audience before I did it, you know.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, I was terribly naughty, and in fact, the kindergarten teacher tried to flunk me from first grade. From kindergarten, and I actually did get suspended for bad behavior in first grade. So this sort of, you know, rambunctious, athletic, uncontrollable physical energy was manifesting at a very early age. And, you know, later I was able to channel it into athletics, where I was always the worst on the team, but I stuck to it long enough to become, you know, a winner of most valuable trophies.
Wow.
But as I grew and went more and more into acting and performing, I trended towards the very physical theater. And I didn't like the kind of acting where you were supposed to think of, you know, your dog that died or something like that. And because whenever I thought of those things, it made me cry so much. I gasped and choked, and, you know, snot ran down my nose, and I couldn't talk. And, you know, that's not really what an audience wants to watch. So, you know, I went toward clowning and stage combat and the avant-garde theater. And eventually I wound up in an ensemble avant-garde company in New York, and eventually decided, you know, avant-garde theater was wonderful, but it didn't create any financial, you know, remuneration, and that I wanted to try and make some money. And I became a professional clown and pratfall artist and did a lot of parties and stuff. And at a certain point, I found out that I could do some stand-in work on a movie. And a stand-in, for those who don't know, is a person who stands in the place of the stars while the camera's getting set and the light gets set, and when the scene is ready to shoot, the stand-in steps away and the star steps in and does the scene. So I got hired on a movie to be the stand-in for an actress named Tina Louise, and she was famous for playing Ginger in Gilligan's Island.
Oh, my God.
And she was a tall redhead like I am, and so I got to stand in for her and also photo double. So in that movie, a group of women sort of went through a lot of crazy adventures, and I got to be her in the long shots and things like that, but not necessarily stunts, not necessarily something terribly dangerous, just a photo double, which pays a little bit, like $10 a day more than an extra does. And but I also was photo doubling for an actress named Julie Haggerty, and people might know her if they ever saw the movie Airplane. And she was the stewardess who said, "Oh, Ted," and was very, very funny. And her character got kidnapped in this movie and spent about 3 weeks of the shooting time in the back seat of a car. So most of the time that was me instead of her. And there were two people who were the kidnappers. One was the stunt coordinator, and that's the person who hires the stunt people and designs the stunts. It's sort of like the creator and designer of the stunts. And so he was actually playing a character of the kidnapper, and he had a sidekick as another kidnapper who was an unknown actor doing one of his very early jobs named Ed O'Neill. And Ed O'Neill went on to become Al Bundy in Married with Children, and he is on Modern Family. He's one of the stars of Modern Family.
Yeah.
So he became very famous, and of course he's a very funny man, and so we had a lot of laughs in those 3 weeks in the back, me in the back of the car and the coordinator and Ed in the front of the car. But I was so curious about stunts, and I didn't know anything about them, so I asked, I just sort of picked this stunt coordinator's brain and did really some embarrassingly silly things during the shoot to try to impress him with my gymnastic skills and my athletic ability. And I gathered a group of children who were watching one of the scenes when we were at a neighborhood in upstate New York, and I led gymnastic class with them so he could see me doing all these things. And actually, it worked. So at the end of the movie, he hired me to do a stunt job where I was hanging off the door of a garbage truck in a chase scene with a police car and a limousine and the garbage truck running through New York City. And that was my first job, and sort of one thing led to the next.
Wow. It kind of makes sense, like kind of sensitive person you are, that you didn't want to do the regular acting, because it was just too much for you, but something that helps you release physically and express that, it totally makes sense. Yes. And I actually was hoping that doing the stunts would help me get more acting jobs. And just 1 month after I did that first stunt, I found a brand new, for me it was brand new, a whole new acting technique that used my imagination. It believes in the higher self, and it uses movement with your imagination to connect with your higher self. And I fell in love with that acting technique, and it made me a much better stunt player and a much better actress, and I became really dedicated to
to that, and was hoping the stunts would give me more acting parts. And in the beginning, it did. But that stunt coordinator that first hired me, he warned me that if I was first and foremost an actress, that I should only stay in stunts about 5 years, because he said, if I stay longer, it would start to trap me, and they would sort of typecast me, and he was right. It took me like 5 years to really gain a lot of credibility and to get, the more interesting and more challenging jobs. And then I was sort of seduced with the lure of working with so many amazing, famous people and doing such crazy, fun and dangerous things. And so, I did stay past the point, and I did get sort of typecast, and it did start to limit, my acting opportunities. So I had to learn my lesson later the hard way.
No, but I mean, what's interesting is that even that I'm sure, this is so scary that something like connecting with higher self, really helped you. That technique must have helped you overcome that fear that came with these stunts you did.
Yes, it absolutely did. And through that connection with the higher self and that acting technique, which is Michael Chekhov's acting technique, it helped me find ways to calm fears. And that's one of the things I do now is I work with people to help them manage fear and fright. Either it could be speakers and people performing, or just people who have high levels of anxiety in life as a life coach. So I learned so much, and really got to test how to manage anxiety and fear.
Wow. I think nothing is by coincidence. Lisa. And we will talk more once we are back after a short break, so stay tuned.
The best of the holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. OMTimes Radio, IOM FM.
As difficult as it is to believe, there are places in Africa where human traffickers sell albino children and their body parts for use in magic rituals. Humanity Healing International is actively working in Uganda to change this paradigm. The Albino Rescue Project finds albino children who are at risk and places them in safe schools and environments where they can learn and grow, free from fear. To learn more or to sponsor a child, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Have you been searching for a perspective beyond the mainstream? Check it out. Join your hosts Cielito Pascual and Diana Gold Holland on Cher International Radio for thought-provoking views behind the news, Sundays at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio. You can also find us at shareontheairradio.org. This may be the message of hope you've been waiting for.
Hey, Russell Wilson here, and I know how important exercise is.
It's essential. It's essential.
With Play 60, United Way and the NFL are helping kids stay active and play at least 60 minutes a day.
Healthy kids, healthy kids.
But what this place needs is you. To donate or volunteer, go to unitedway.org/play60 because great things happen when we live united.
Donate, donate.
Are you guys going to do that every time?
Yes, of course. Yes, of course.
Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
And we are back. Welcome back, friends. And we were talking about the technique about connecting with higher self via Lisa was performing those stunts. So, Lisa, it must have still been scary sometimes, right?
Yes, absolutely. I think the scariest thing that I did was I had to leap from a six-story rooftop across an alley to another rooftop. And
oh my gosh.
yeah, that was really scary. Standing on the edge of the building looking down 6 stories, and the alley was too small to put up an airbag, and normally an airbag is what one would fall into from 6 stories. And so they had one of those round trampolines that, like firemen. I think these days you kind of see them more in cartoons. And, I'm like, if I try to leap this, and if I don't make it, I'm going to sort of ricochet off this brick wall, and I can picture myself sort of bouncing back and forth and them sort of running around trying to figure out, where am I going to land?
Yeah.
And so it was, I had quite a bit of adrenaline pumping in that case. And of course the one of the key steps to managing fear is strong preparation. And so I had spent all week practicing in the gymnasium my long jumps and making sure that I had the clearance to make it. And then, when the adrenaline started pumping, I see the beauty of the adrenaline, that it's not a bad thing. It's actually divine gift that's going to, help me have more strength, more power.
Yeah.
And I took off, and I kind of sailed over it, cleared it without a problem. But I did have to look back, and I on one hand, I kind of felt like Superman, and on the other hand, I was still kind of shaking, going, oh my gosh, I did it.
Lisa, talk about the price you paid psychologically, emotionally, and physically for this career.
Well, several things. One was, as I mentioned earlier, that it did stunt my acting career, because people started thinking of me only as someone who could, maybe do, 3 lines and bang, bang, she's dead, or she goes through a plate glass window, and not take me seriously as an actress. During the whole time, I was doing stage acting and also entertaining at these events, and the entertaining at the events and the stunts were making me a lot of money, and then I was spending the money on things like my acting lessons, my singing lessons, and on producing plays for myself to act in. And so that was one thing, that at a certain point I just had to take all the experience I had as a stunt person and remove it from my resume and change my name and create a whole nother sort of persona, who was just an actress. And and then the other thing was I knew my higher self kept telling me that I wasn't supposed to keep doing the stunts, that I was supposed to focus on the acting, and I had started teaching the acting as well, and that I was really supposed to focus on that. But I was so caught up in the ego of being, a top stunt woman and working with all these famous, fun, cool people and everything else, that I just kept trying to stop, and I kept getting too scared to let go of the income. And I finally decided to stop, and I quit for 6 months, and then I agreed to do another job. And on that job, I sustained an injury that wound up awarding me a handicap hang tag and 46% permanent loss of use of my back.
Wow.
So, and I did that, for $431. It's a lifetime of chronic pain, of periods of paralysis. I was unable to walk, sit, or stand in any position for more than 5 minutes without being in excruciating pain.
Wow.
And it was very interesting because I was rappelling off a cliff and the rope slipped off where it was anchored, and I crashed. Took about the rope slipped about 25 feet, and I crashed into two sides of the cliff. And as I was ricocheting back and forth like a pendulum into the rocks, I said right then to myself, this is going to be the most spiritual gift you'll ever give yourself.
Oh, my God.
And, yeah, I knew because my higher self had been telling me, don't do this. And,
wow.
And I just was like, okay, I've made it so that I can't do this,
So you believe the universe tries to give us clues?
Oh, very much so. Absolutely. I mean, the clues were all over. I mean, stunts are very dangerous. I had 3 stunt friends who were killed in 3 different projects 4 months apart, approximately 2 years earlier. And I was getting big messages. Don't do this. It's not for you.
No.
And
that's so.
Yeah, and I kept doing it.
But why?
Because I was scared. I was scared that I wouldn't make any money. I was scared that I was, really seduced by sort of having an identity as sort of Superman, as, I wasn't Superwoman. I was a female Superman, I kind of, back from the days of the Jungle Gym and 4 and 5 years old, I was already focused on not letting my gender limit my ability to exceed, human limitations.
Yeah.
So I was really trying to defy really being in a physical body. I just wanted to be able to do whatever I believed I could do.
Yeah.
And, most of the time when I was, pretty lousy at it when I started, and then I got really good. And so I believed that I could do that. But, really it was fear of lack. It was fear of loss of identity. I didn't have the faith that I could make it as an actress. And the interesting thing was I did after, even after I was so badly injured, I still, despite the injury, managed to make a living as an actress, mostly in Los Angeles in commercials and did a lot of independent film, but did smaller parts in TV shows and things like that. But I really fell in love with the acting teaching, and I ran an acting studio, the Michael Chekhov Studio in Los Angeles for 18 years. So, I managed to make a living as an actress, and I had to believe in that. And it wasn't until I injured myself that I really became a believer in myself as an actress.
Yeah, wow.
And what I had to learn all these alternative healing techniques because the medical community wasn't able to help me. And the things that I learned, I was a fortunate time to be in Los Angeles. It was a time when Deepak Chopra was just getting known. I mean, you could go to you could take a UCLA extension class and be one of 50 people in listening to this doctor that nobody knew yet. And, Doreen Virtue and all these people who that were just getting their start. Lisa Garr from the Aware Show was, just launching her show and introducing so many of these people to the world. And I was a faithful listener to the radio of these kinds of shows, and I learned a tremendous amount, went to many, many workshops and certifications, and I discovered sort of the quantum physics, metaphysics, athletic, scientific reason that Michael Chekhov's acting technique was so powerful and amazing. And that led me, I got to teach, Chekhov's work in Moscow and in London and Paris and Berlin and, all over the United States. And so, I don't think I would be the teacher that I am today. I don't think I'd be the coach that I am today if I hadn't sustained the injury, because it was a strong guidepost for me.
Yeah. Seems like, because you were not really, universe's gentle nudges were not really helping. And so it seems like it was kind of important, to get you out of it, to get some injury at a physical level, because, at a spiritual level, we are so complete and whole, and no one can really hurt us. So,
right.
Wow. Great example of how it's so important to listen to that inner voice that's guiding you.
Absolutely, Monica. This part of my mission is to help people listen, recognize the little pebbles in your pathway, the little hints, the raindrops or whatever, instead of having to crash into a cliff like I did,
Yeah.
To be more sensitive and responsive to the messages coming.
But, do you regret any of that, what happened and how your life was?
I don't, because I see the divine process. There are many challenging events that I experienced before that and after and currently, and I really feel blessed to recognize that I've been given so much information and so many gifts to cope with them. And every single thing that I do experience, I turn around and teach others.
That's so wonderful. And we will take just a very short break here and be right back. Please stay.
The best of holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Have you ever wondered how to change your love paradigm? The secret key is finding a love partnership, not just a regular connection. How do you find these? Through conscious relationships. Ascending Hearts Dating is a dating site for people like you that believes in second chances and a different type of spiritual connection. Try Ascending Hearts for free today at ascendinghearts.com and change your love paradigm. Ascending Hearts, the premier dating community for the spiritually awake.
Hi, this is Julie Geigel.
And I'm Susan Schuler.
And I'm Carrie Ann Larson.
And we are
the Psychic Angel Channelers
from Angel Talk Tuesday.
Tune in every week at 10 a.m. Eastern on OMTimesRadio.com.
The angels have heard your call and are here to help.
Are you ready to receive?
Bathe in a beautiful vibrational frequency to help you heal, expand, and remember your magnificence with Angel Talk Tuesday.
I'm a retired school psychologist, and helping people was my thing. After my stroke, when Meals on Wheels started, I was on the other end of the stick, so to speak. My name is Julius Gaines, creative writer, poet, photographer.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
And we are back. Welcome back, everyone. So we were talking about how universe nudges us and do what we are supposed to do and the learning that Lisa got from her experiences. Welcome back, Lisa.
Yes. We were talking about whether I had any regrets. And, not only did I learn so much, but I really had some amazing experiences with the wonderful people that I worked with on the film sets, and getting to participate in so many big, movies like Splash and Ghostbusters and Highlander, Crocodile Dundee, FX, Money Pit, Married to the Mob, all these wonderful movies. And especially I got to do a Motown cult film called Berry Gordy's The Last Dragon. And that movie, some 30 years ago, where I played a very nasty martial art gang member. I was the token white girl in a black gang from Harlem. And the movie, it's like a musical martial arts Karate Kid meets Motown. And that movie has such a beautiful message in it about finding the glow. And to me, that movie is about finding your higher self and your inner power. And in the fall of 2014, I was invited to New York for the 30th anniversary movie screening of it and the fan expo. And people came from all over this country and Canada of every color, age, and ethnicity to meet the stars. And there were over 400 people in the standing room only theater in Times Square. And they played the movie, and it was they knew, the whole audience knew every line and every lyric of every song, and they had the cosplay, players acting it out in their outfits. And people came up to me who, I had about 5 lines or something, and I was really nasty and evil. And they would come up to me, female, male, different ages, and tell me how much stronger they were as people for seeing this, for my role in it, for seeing the whole story, and finding that glow in themselves and the power. And when you get to be a part of a story that is told, and for these people, they replay it for their children, and it's a ritual, it transforms their lives. And that's really, for me, the truth about the spiritual role of entertainment. It's why actors and it's the shamanic part of uniting the tribe, why it's carved in the cave walls, So, getting to be part of that, and films that have inspired people like that, is so rich and rewarding that it sort of wipes out all the difficulties and challenges, many of which are described in my book.
It's a beautiful book. Thank you. So tell us about your life now, Lisa.
I am. Go ahead.
No, I know that you have been going around and teaching the techniques, and I know, you are a spiritual teacher now.
Yes.
But tell us, exactly what it has been like, and how you feel about it, and how it has changed you.
I now am focusing. I have a one-woman show that I created, and one of my favorite things to do is to go to a university or to a theater and perform the show and do workshops in this approach to finding your higher self and allowing it to reveal your creativity. For amateurs, we do, work with doctors and coaches, as well as actors, directors, designers, etc. And I especially love mentoring teachers. So I have about 30 or 40 teachers around the world who I am helping to learn how to, coaching them to teach this work. So they are reaching thousands of students on a daily basis and helping students become happier, healthier human beings. And that's incredibly rewarding. But my average day is sort of really, it's really my own. I have an adorable little Shih Tzu puppy named Tibby Tibet.
Yeah.
And he's a calming and inspiring companion. And I still ride my motorcycle. I have a BMW motorcycle, and Tibby rides on my lap on the motorcycle.
Oh.
And and I work with an organization called the Live Theater League in Fort Worth, Texas. And I work I'm on the SAG-AFTRA, there's the unions for the performers, on the board of directors of the Dallas-Fort Worth local.
Wow.
So, I do a lot of volunteer service and, mentoring people in their nonprofit organizations. And so I love that part. And I have an amazing community in my neighborhood, and I have an amazing family, 2 brothers, 2 sisters, and my mom. And so we're all a very close family, although we're spread out across the United States. And as we speak, I'm actually in the San Francisco area because my younger sister is very ill. And so I'm caregiving for her, and thank you, Monica. It's she was diagnosed almost a month ago with acute myeloid leukemia. So it's an interesting process now to sort of hold the space for her as she goes through her process, and we don't, of course, know how it's going to conclude. And since she's a very powerful spiritual woman, and so we work together with this, and so that's interesting. And she wants me to keep working on my writing, which I'm doing, working on my next book, which I expect to come out in February. So I'm keeping pretty busy.
Congratulations, and we definitely wish a lot of peace and healing and a lot of prayers sending to your sister and the whole family as you are together with her. I can totally understand how it can be for you, but being the spiritual person you are and she is, I'm sure, the strength is coming, and you know the truth of the situation.
It has been so inspiring to hear, know their prayers, and coming from all over the world, from all different faiths. And she's a dancer, so one of her things is to, show support by random acts of dancing to make people enjoy themselves.
Wow. Yeah.
So,
No, I mean, it's a family of givers, so, no wonder stay so close to each other, and, it always strengthens and helps when families are together.
Yes. One of the things that we do that has helped us be together is every Tuesday we meet online. We do a Google Hangout. So we have, one person from Southern California, one from Northern California, me in Texas, and 2 on the East Coast. And we have breakfast and brunch and lunch together online with my mother. Wow. And we share, 1 or 2 hours each week, and we just take turns going around. How can we help you? What do you need help with? And it's so beautiful to be able to experience the family and to stay in touch like that, even though we're so far apart. So, I encourage all the listeners to consider creating family time using our incredible technology to keep, and build and rebuild families.
Yeah, no, I mean, right now with this technology, great technology, distance shouldn't matter, It's like amazing what you have created, very inspiring. I think it's a great way of, being connected with the family, even though you are far from each other, and be there for each other. It makes a huge difference.
Yes, it does. Yeah. Absolutely,
Thank you so much for sharing.
You're
and
welcome.
I also want to share with our audience about Lisa's book, Falling for the Stars, that's available on Amazon.com. And then also the acting classes that you are teaching? Still?
Yes. And my website, lisadalton.com, and it's got all sorts of fun things. You can sign up, get some free chapters. There's a Rafflecopter giveaway, and there's a free MP3 file that talks about using the acting techniques for your own self-development. And there's information about my upcoming workshop that's going to be at the University of Florida, December 27th to January 2nd. Wow. We have just a few spaces open. And so, so there's lots of fun stuff on there, lots of pictures and videos.
You are giving us so much. That's great. And we will take just a short break here and be right back. Please stay.
Connecting you with the best of the conscious minds in the world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Looking for inspiration?
Want to be inspired?
Not sure where to go?
Find Mark and Kim every Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern on Inspired Living.
Topics will elevate consciousness and range from metaphysics to the human and social experience and all things spiritual.
Welcome to an inspired community that offers support, encouragement, and new ways of thinking. You are the inspired and the inspiration.
What if we got rewarded for every good decision?
Dinner. Meal needs a vegetable. Check.
Amazing.
Vegetables cooked with a healthier oil instead of butter?
Fantastic.
Replacing bad fats with healthier fats like those in canola or vegetable oil is good for your heart. Take up the challenge for good health because the you of the future will say,
fantastic.
Visit heart.org/face the fats. Canola Info proudly supports the American Heart Association's Face the Fats campaign.
Welcome back, everyone. And we were talking about what all Lisa is offering for all of us and how we can reach her. She also offers private sessions, so I would really encourage everyone to take advantage of it. We are very, very grateful to Lisa. And Lisa, we would like to know, why did you write this book?
Through my life, I've had the opportunity, as I mentioned, to do charity work, and part of what I did was I played in a lot of celebrity golf tournaments to raise funds for different causes, for Make-A-Wish or for Abused Children's Center, Barbara Sinatra's Abused Children's Center, and Alice Cooper's Youth Rock Center. And I realized that wherever I went, I could entertain people with my stories as a stunt woman, and sharing with them what the stars were like and what was going on behind the scenes. And there were a couple of things. I mean, when a lot of people are afraid of stars, or they have unrealistic expectations.
Right.
And I really wanted it for one thing, I had surgery 2 years ago, and my back surgery actually allowed me to sit long enough to write. So I'd been verbally telling the stories, but now I could actually sit down and write. And so that was an amazing opportunity for me. And I realized that as I was writing the book, that I really wanted people to know that the stars they're just people too, and they do things you might not understand. You might not know why they behave the way they do, or that certain people are not at all the way they are projected. And so many of them are, just so much kinder and nicer and considerate, and, went out of their way to support me, especially like, Meryl Streep and Cher and Robert Redford. All three of them were just amazing. And so I wanted people to sort of get to know the humanity behind the stars, and I also wanted them to realize how hard the world of stunts is. I mean, when you look at so many movies, everything that's in the trailer is stunts. And the big, exciting action stuff are stunts, and yet there isn't even a stunt. There's no Oscar for stunts. And stunt players frequently aren't even listed. I mean, many, especially women in my day, we didn't get listed in the credits. And IMDb makes it very difficult for us to get film credit for jobs that we did because we were not listed in the original movie. And so, there was a lot of misogyny, and there was a lot of unsafe practices, and there were, like I said, people died trying to make movies for people. And so I think stunt people, deserve more respect. And I think plus the book is kind of unusual. It's like a lot of short stories about all these different movies I did and the people I worked with. But there's sort of poetry in there, and there's a crossword puzzle because my mom loves crossword puzzles, so I made a crossword.
Right.
That you have to, read the book and find the clues in the book. Yeah. And my dad was sort of an English major dictionary guy, so I made Dalton's dictionary with, they're real, but they're kind of funny definitions in some places, or very opinionated definitions of the terminology from film sets. So the book is a little different in that way, and I feel, excited about that. And there's over 40 pictures in it, various me with movie stars and me on movie sets. And so people get to, get a little visual. And that's also, I have a little video. If somebody, emails me at lisa@lisadalton.com, I can send them a link to the little video of the pictures in color. And, so I had a lot of fun with it. And it actually, the whole writing process, I was inspired by a writing mentor named Tom Bird. And he believes that we should write from God, that we write from our higher self, and that the book already exists in our higher self. And if we go into meditation and tune into it, that we can sort of download the book, like we all have our own personal iCloud of inspiration. And the first book I actually wrote was the one that's coming out in February, called Murder of Talent: How Pop Culture's Killing It. And and I wrote that in one weekend, and I got finished early, and so he said, okay, you start your second book, and I was like, I don't know what that is, and then he said, just start writing, and Falling for the Stars fell out of me. So it was it turned out that Tom Bird's approach is pretty much the same as my acting approach, that, you know, there's a higher self, the characters live up there, the stories live up there, and you just train yourself to allow them to come through you. And in this case, onto a page as opposed to onto a stage.
Yeah.
So, I allowed my higher self to write for me, and then I stepped back and looked at it and said, oh, this is what it is. You know, it's kind of Falling for the Stars, A Stunt Gal's Tattletales, is in part the story of how I was very frightened and driven by fear. I was afraid I wasn't a good enough actress. I was afraid I wouldn't get anywhere. And so I went and did crazy things, and I rose to the top of the wrong field, and then I, you know, crashed into the cliff, and I found my true calling. And
Wow.
And now I can write about it.
That's so awesome. What is your message to our listeners?
I think my most meaningful message that sort of seems to recur through my life is about accepting who you are as perfect. You know, when I realized I was terribly clumsy and I was so upset by it, then I finally said, you know what, I'm just going to make a career out of it. And I expanded it. And do you know what, Monica? When I eat, I wear a bib.
Yeah.
I wear a bib because I know I'm a mess. And all of my clothing used to have stains on the chest. And I was like, you know what? I need a bib. I'm coming into the world wearing a bib. I'm going out wearing a bib. Yeah. The only reason I don't wear a bib to keep my clothing protected is because of ego, fear of looking silly.
I know.
You know, and I realized that I look awful silly walking around with clothes stained, and I'm not rich enough to be able to throw out my clothes every day and buy new ones. And so I wear a bib, and, you know, I wear it in restaurants. I carry it with me, and, you know, people have a lot of fun with it. And it's great because people stop and talk to me and goes, my goodness, you're wearing a bib. And I was like, yes, look at all the stains on my bib. They would be on my clothes, but my clothes look great. So, you know, I turned, it's kind of turning lemons into lemonade or sour grapes into fine wine. You know, it's just like fall in love with who you are, love yourself, and enjoy who you are, because it can lead you to your highest truth.
Yeah, that's such a beautiful message and so important to hear for so many of us, in fact, all of us, because we do get into this insecurity and, you know, what people will say, what people will think about my weakness. This is awkward. I'm not the way I should be. That just goes on and on all the time. And this is so beautiful. I so respect you for sharing, and, you know, really grateful to you, Lisa, for sharing your true self and giving us such an important message.
Well, thank you, Monica. It's really been great chatting with you.
Yeah, no, I totally relate with you. And once again, we are so grateful for you to come to our show, and we will definitely look forward to your new book in February. My best wishes to you for that, and congratulations once again on who you have become and what you have shared and your honesty and your connection. We are so grateful, and I really wish a very, very, very speedy recovery and peace and for your sister, and all the best to your family. Thanks so much again.
Thank you, Monica. Many blessings to you.
Thank you. Namaste. And
namaste.
Dear listeners, we will meet again in future. I wish you all the best. My best wishes to you always. Have a wonderful, blissful life, and keep healing yourself and keep accepting and loving yourself. A lot of love and blessings to you. Namaste.